if the enemy team is playing a 3-3, catch them off guard, get a really quick barrage, and have your Mercy pocket you all the way through. But as we're loading back into the map here, Labasco, loading back into Sanctuary, it's going to be that mirror composition absolutely obliterated as Caverna is going to come out here with a Genji and a Widowmaker versus BGH. They're going to come out here with or they're flexing on a Sombra. This is just a prepare to attack kind of screen. So, you know, you can get you baited almost for anything at a moment's notice. Probably going to go back, switch over to what is most popular, which is that 3-3 composition with the Winston. So oppressive. Just got to be careful that your Zenyatta doesn't get absolutely obliterated as you dive in. A lot of communication gets played out here.
Oh, yes, definitely. One thing to point out, by the way, Liko and Klaus are the two starting for BGH here at the beginning as far as the DPS duo. So we do not see Dudu just yet, but that doesn't mean that we can't see him. As we see right now, Neil advancing right now on Sanctum, where there's kind of that drum up top near that high ground advantage that you can have. He uses his Tesla cannon, gets the Brigitte very low as they have the great start for this one. Now looking to take the Winston down as well, and BGH controlling the pace here at the beginning as they will get this first point.
Yeah, it's kind of BGH's fight to lose at that point. They got Maka super early. Look at that ult charge, 71%, 72 now to Klaus. Over the 16% to Maka, that is quite the rally difference indeed. But once you lose your Brigitte in this composition, that's a lot of healing that is out of the way. You know that Lucio and Zenyatta don't give out the biggest burst heals in the world. It's literally the Brigitte and that armor pack that leaves it available for you Winston to stay alive a lot longer, for your Zarya to get a lot more charge. Brazil Gaming House, though they have no more ultimates, they do have control of the point. So it's going to be Converta trying to find any Discord or from Bari Jean here in a moment to find a dive and find their way back into the fight.
See Liko going in aggressively here with the rest of his team, is able to get that first elimination down with the help of some others as they continue to push forward here, already up to 32% as well for the point, Panda, and they are just controlling play and have a lot of ultimates coming up.
And this is where it really gets scary, right? Because Brazil Gaming House, they didn't use Klaus's rally, which was the first ultimate that was charged here in this matchup, and they're about to hit 50% to the control point. Labasco is really scary because Liko has a Graviton Surge, Honorato has a Self-Destruct, Neil's about to have a Self-Destruct, or the Proper Rage rather. It's just a whole six-pack of ultimates that Caverna has to walk into, and they have the duo support ultimate, but how are they really going to find their way into the point when they do the same thing over and over again?
Rally, the first ultimate that comes out, then Sound Barrier is the answer for Caverna, but this is just benefiting right now Brazil Gaming because they're still keeping control of the point 70%. They haven't had to use any ults. They can look for the right opportunity. Rally used on the other side. See the D.Va go up into the air, so that causes Graviton Surges for both teams. Self-destruct for Honorato doesn't find anything. Players alive on either side. It looks like one was pushed off. It was Silveria. They were able to get out of Mac and be pushed off the point, so Brazil Gaming House still in control here, looking to try to get the Zarya down off the map as well, as we're up to 92%. BGH still controlling this game, but now maybe a chance here for Caverna if they can push towards point.
When Caverna keeps pushing over on this left-hand side, Neil's going to have the Primal Rage eventually. He's going to get a few boofs off, and nobody can get to the point like he's mentioning Labasco. Caverna going down 100% to 0 against Brazil Gaming House, but they had the tools available. They did have both support ultimates, and although Brazil Gaming House held off a little longer for their Transcendence, the opening was there. Caverna just lacked the opening, I suppose, to find the dive onto the backline of Brazil Gaming House. It was so close, yet they did the same rotation 2 times over. At that point, you just got to flip the egg on its other side and see how that just grills it down. As we're moving over to the mecha base, both teams have the option available to slow down the pace if they want to go a more traditional 3-3 with the Reinhardt. Doesn't look so, as both teams are coming out of the gate with that same mirror matchup that we previously saw with Juwasu versus Neil, actually coming out here. The Reinhardt not really slowing the pace down because Alamali is going to be staying on the Zenyatta, but they're meeting each other high ground. So how is Juwasu going to find his dive? Quick pin right onto the enemy Zarya.
He gets in, but he did have a bubble to keep himself up, so he's able to get back with his team, throws a player strike into the middle of the 4A, only at 11% though, so he hasn't gotten a lot of damage. Oh, he fell off down below, as they were able, though, to take Callow out in the meantime. So Brazil Gaming House, another advantage, get Maka out of the fight, and they can start to build up onto this point once again.
And Neil wasn't really in the fight for all too long there. But displacing and disrupting the entire team of Caverna just does so much, especially when you're playing 3-3. You can't just really play as that traditional ball, gain all of the benefits of Inspire and the Lucio speed boosts. You can see both teams just beating each other eye to eye again.
You also have the switch coming out here, so you do have both teams with a Reinhardt in this fight, but it doesn't matter. Caverna behind, they used Transcendence, but it didn't keep anybody up. They now have to regroup. And
just having to regroup, getting all the way back to spawn. And so that way they don't face the high charge of Liko that you see here. 21% over to his Graviton Surge. The ultimate's thrown out there from Brazil Gaming House, but Neil has a Shatter. Caverna had to throw out the Transcendence just to make it back here as they use their rally and the Graviton Surge from Cappy Mac.
Graviton Surge doesn't find any. Transcendence keeps everyone alive through its stun coming out onto the main tank Neil. He stays alive, and now his team is able to push the pace forward, find 4 eliminations in this fight. Now just looking for the last 2 as they're already up to 55%. See if they can chase down any of those last couple. They do get Callow there at the end.
Brazil Gaming House can continue to play this aggressive as well. They have so much tank charge and so much charge over to Liko in particular. He's going to be able to get this Graviton Surge. They can continue to hold down these smaller choke points. And even when Converter rotate over to a different side, using the speed boost from all along, they can just speed boost over to a different choke point. Liko just holding his Graviton Surge, looking for the pin in the charge. He throws out the Graviton Surge, gets knocked out.
Did get knocked down, but his team doesn't really care that happens because they're still eliminating everybody left on Caverna. 83% already built up to here. We're in potentially team fight territory, last team fight territory.
Last team fight territory, 90% the shield bash to stop the charge out of the Reinhardt. Back to the spawn for Juwasu. The Reinhardt swap. He can't even get out of spawn Caverna. Still Gaming House with a plethora of ultimates and a smart mind to rotate that big ult bank. Will take Busan 2-0, and we'll go up in the series 1-0. And looking as dominant as they did at the end of last season with Caverna, they definitely had some bright spots there by way of how well they're utilizing their support ultimates, not throwing both of them out at the same time. We see teams when they're really thrown for a loop, aka their entire team gets punched in the jaw by a 3-3 composition, that a lot of supports can stack upon their support ultimates, but they're doing a good job sticking together as a team. They just have to be careful and really punish the aggression coming out in between the Diva and the Reinhardt from Brazil Gaming House.
Now, when you look at what you did see from Caverna, you started to say you liked what you're seeing from the supports, but obviously that means that maybe there's things in the tank line and the DPS line that can change to maybe give themselves a little bit of a better advantage. We saw Liko was high charge, a lot of that. How do they sort of not enable him as much on the Zarya, or is that just something that they have to maybe try and focus on more?
I think when you start denting the armor of a 3-3 composition altogether, regardless of the enemy here, it just comes down to how well Liko in particular, that Zarya that we were talking about from Brazil Gaming House, how well he's playing with his personal bubble, using it for his charge. And when he's not with Neil, he just lightly peels back and hangs on to his own charge. Caverna never really have the resources, nor the man advantage to gain headway onto this fight. So that way these Zarya can feel the punishment from the overaggression, trying to charge out those Graviton Surges. I think towards the end there, with Cappy Mac in particular, we saw those bright spots because he was starting to do the same thing. And it's really starting to click. I think the minor misstep there, in particular, was just how Brazil Gaming House caught them off guard, like I was mentioning on Mecha Base. They wanted to play their game, slow it down, play the shield game, have Neil on that Reinhardt, but Juwasu try to stick true to the 3-3 composition with the Winston. That I almost think that if Juwasu rolled out on the Reinhardt, we probably would have saw an even matchup, even Caverna getting headway, just because Cappy Mac was really coming into his own there on the Zarya roll.
It's extremely tough when you do have that other tank that you think is going to work, but they throw that Reinhardt at you. Does Brazil Gaming House with Neil on that, and he's able to kind of just free farm at points, and his team ends up getting the win. We're going to take a timeout here, but when we come back, we'll have map number 2 here for you on Broadcast.gg. Welcome back here on Broadcast.gg. Labasco and Panda here with you for Contenders South America. Just want to give you an update about what's happening right now. There were some technical difficulties during map number 1 that we are trying to get sorted out right now. So when we have that all figured out for you, we will get back to map number 2. Nothing has started yet, so don't worry about that. We'll be back with the beginning of map number 2 here shortly. But until then, we're going to take another time out here until that can be sorted out.
Nights could freeze my conscience. Your body seems so harmless. Oh, started in a hotel lobby. Cleaned up just to get too sloppy. Things I showed you might catch up. After the daylight, it started in a hotel. Started in a hotel lobby. Cleaned up just to get too sloppy. Things I showed you, I can't show me. Ooh, after daylight. Started in a hotel.
Back here on Broadcast.gg, Labasco and Panda with you for game number 2 coming up in just a few moments between Brazil Gaming House and Caverna Esports for this Contenders South America matchup. Panda, we found our next map. It is going to be Hollywood.
Hollywood is probably the smart choice for Caverna. Definitely keeping Neil off of the Winston, keeping him on the Reinhardt. Caverna probably wanting to introduce a little bit more of a dive-centric map. We know Hollywood Point B in particular, very high ground oriented, not as high ground oriented as some other maps with the payload on the inside of it, but never in the end, it seems that this could benefit Caverna to play a little bit more of a edgy play style. They could play their Widowmaker, they could play their Genji. But then, of course, you and I in particular, you and I were speaking before the broadcast actually began that if Brazil Gaming House get the chance to play Genji, Widowmaker, all of that kind of thing, I mean, that's just as scary as Liko on that Zarya, that you get to see them on the Widowmaker. You can see Klaus on the Sombra. We haven't seen Doomfist yet. We haven't even talked about him in this matchup thus far, but Hollywood, it could actually be the map that all these picks come out from either of these teams.
It's entirely possible, and maybe it's sort of something we should expect here. I mean, of course, we can see 3-3 comps. They work just as well on Hollywood's point 1. I mean, we've already seen the hybrid dive where we see that it's more, or hybrid dive, I called it, hybrid dive 3-3. So that is something that's entirely possible as well that can come out here too. I guess it just depends on what these two teams decide and who we see playing offense and who we see playing defense first here on map number 2. Will also be something to take into consideration. But we know that Liko is just as deadly on Genji as he is on his Zarya. As far as what we might see here in game number 2, what do you expect as far as the other DPS spot? Because is that where Klaus goes onto the Widowmaker if they decide to do that? Or is this where we maybe see Dudu come in?
And I've been told to not let my imagination run as rampant as it once did. I don't think we'll see Dudu coming in and until a very important situation occurs, whether one of the players can't make it or as a specialist even, such as that Widowmaker or even a Tracer too, was very impactful on that hero last season. But even going back to the imagination part, I think.
Let it run a little.
I can't. I've been told to calm it down a little bit. Put ice on it. Like, set it on ice. Let it chill out for a little bit. That even throughout all of Contenders thus far, even on China, I haven't seen a lot of 3-3 compositions. Theory crafting is a very, it's a very full contact sport. It can be dangerous. Make sure you wear your padding. But I think this matchup in particular definitely comes down to both the main tanks and the flex supports in particular. Neil, Juwasu. Whether you could definitely say Alamong, his Lucio, is #1 in this region in particular, how well he is at working with Colero versus Barijan. These Discord orbs, these volleys can definitely come into play here. I definitely think that we'll see a lot more 3-3 composition defending on the defending team. And if we get the third point in particular, a lot more Zarya needs to be outplayed here. But Brazil Gaming House is setting up their defense. I want to take off my socks and stuff them in my mouth because Liko and Klaus, they're going to come out here with the Sombra and the Doomfist, which is by far the most dangerous composition known to meta right now.
Very dangerous, and Liko will be the one on the Sombra here. Klaus will be the one on the Doomfist. So we get to see that dangerous combination. They will have the dive tanks along with it. As far as Caverna, now that the door is about to open, we see that they're going with basically the same comp, except they're going to have a Hanzo, maybe just to scout out here at the start from Callow.
Sonic Arrow could catch Liko. He's just going to de-stealth, just get some damage out here, but Brazil Gaming has this composition. It's just so dangerous. Sure, Neil and Honoratu, they could be there on the dive with Klaus, or you could just 100% somebody with a punch to their jaw right into a wall. Caverna has a lot to be on the lookout for. Colero and Alamong in particular, the Zenyatta and the Ana, a lot of utility for the resource management of Brazil Gaming House. Neil and Klaus, Liko, Honoratu, they're going to need it as Colero just goes immediately down.
Choazu making that dive work here at the start. Cappy Mac does lose Liko, able to get Choazu out here too. So the start of this one going in favor of Brazil Gaming House after they did lose that initial player. But right now it's not really mattering. Neil jumping onto the back line and taking both of them out as they stabilize here. Came close to getting to that 33%, which if you hit means that you get that one tick. Did not get it though for the side of Caverna.
Yeah, but Neil's still down. Sure, he's all Winston. He can make it back to the point soon, but Caverna, if they can get underneath the speed boost of Kalu, they can actually make it to the point here very quickly. Silveria on this Doomfist nearing out to that Meteor Strike could be very dangerous for both Alamong and Colero if they don't get a bubble over top of him from Neil. Very dangerous matchup here. As you can see, again, the magic trying to be made, and Shuwasu in, but a punch to the jaw of Maka.
You did have the EMP come out there a little bit late, as it's not going to really matter because, you know, his team was cleaning up anyways for Liko as they win themselves another fight here.
Winning another team fight and cementing down their ult economy's destruction. They threw out to a few there. They will have that Meteor Strike I was mentioning. Juwasu will have a little bit more formidability, I suppose, with Primal Rage there on this next dive, but no ticks so far. 2 minutes passing in this matchup on Hollywood. Brazil Gaming House defense, they're looking very strong. They're about to have a Meteor Strike of their own. Neil can dive that much deeper and be very strong as well with his own Primal Rage. It's all to create space. Hanoratu has this self-destruct, and Colero can remain safe with the Transcendence. Next team fight, and the EMP already out for Maka.
It works really well as he gets both supports down here at the start of this fight. Hacks the Primal Raging Winston as well, so that Winston won't be able to do much as far as movement. So Maria able to get another one, and Choazu gets Neil, so this looks like Caverna winning this one, and now finally taking this point. Took them a little bit of time, but they got the ultimates they needed. They now take the point.
Yeah, and they had to get a few more ultimates out of Brazil Gaming House too. Neil wanted to use the Primal Rage just to get into the point as quick as possible. They actually have a recontest coming through here in Lobosco. Colero with the Transcendence is going to stop this point from progressing so far for Caverna, but it's all hearsay as Caverna will finally unlock the point. Brazil Gaming House, they have a few dents inside their armor. When they get a little bit overzealous and Caverna have the ultimate advantage, they punish those mistakes. They absolutely come on top of this objective, and now Hollywood is into full effect. 3 minutes and 25 seconds to Caverna's time bank for them to push down second.
Silveria lost his fight in that last one, but it didn't really matter, Panda, because they have control here, and there was ultimates wasted by BGH. This is going to be a pretty easy road for them to push through at least the streets phase because of what they have.
Yeah, this dusty road could be easy for them to push. Klaus, Brazil Gaming House, they have the high ground control. Caverna, they're doing little to protect it. More in particular, Liko just really waiting for the ZMP, throws it out, catches two.
Easily eliminating here. They did use the nano boost from Caverna as well, but that nano boost really isn't going to do much. Maybe just keep Choazu alive here so he's able to regroup with his team. But EMP, we see how strong it is there, Panda.
And just using that one ultimate to win a team fight. Caverna scratching their heads as they had to throw out their nano boost, 30% so for Parisian into his next one. But now the story is all over Mecha and Cappy Mac. They have the self-destruct and this EMP available, a very deadly combo. But the BGH, they're just relentless, just continuous Liko. He's stealthing into the backline, finding this pressure, stopping Caverna from marching their way into this next team fight.
Neil takes down Parisian 2 at the beginning of the fight. Honoratu gets Chaozu as well. So they're basically done at the start of this one. So Chaozu going down. They're not able to really use any of those ultimates that they have. And now BGH back into an ultimate advantage, Panda.
They got the promo rage out of Brazil Gaming House, sure, but this is all just time in the favor for Liko. He is halfway to his next EMP. That is more time in the favor for Brazil Gaming House to play their slow and methodical matchup for Klaus to land the punches, land the skill shots, so that way the Caverna feels the pressure. The Brazil Gaming House in particular, they have the Transcendence to elongate this next team fight. All along, I expect that Nano Boost to go over to Neil when this next fight ensues.
Maka using the EMP, but it allows for Transcendence to happen, so didn't quite get enough players. Silveira able to get Klaus, so no Doomfist to have to deal with, so that might be the advantage Caverna needs to get this going, especially with the fact that they had their sound barrier committed. And Liko, though, turning this one around along with Honoratu, so they are back into this fight on the card, and regroup's going to get called here for Caverna. So now chasing down players will be Honoratu. Can't find anybody, though, too many regroups for Caverna.
The front line of Brazil Gaming House barely even felt the tickle. Neil, just with that nano boost from Alamang, just staying alive forever in that fight, just allowing Liko to feel less pressure as he de-stealthed in the backline to charge up this EMP, and now the combo is all in Brazil Gaming House's favor. They had the self-destruct and the EMP into Caverna. It's just Shuwasu into this last team fight-esque scenario with the nano boost, but the EMP from Liko, it's gotten the Diva. That's actually a pretty decent one to stop Caverna in their tracks.
Catches a ton of players, have the Doomfist up in the air looking for a place to drop it. Klaus will just go back up by the rest of his team. They've been playing on this high ground for most of the time, and it's worked out so well. Made it hard for Maka to get any value out of his EMPs. He is getting close to that here as the re-engage happens, though. Quickly backing out is the team, though, in BGH. Now the Winston and Chaozu jumping in, uses the Primal Rage on top, trying to knock some players down, so he gets a few down here, at least by where his team can maybe try and get their dive onto him. Only problem is, though, is that Neil has found himself and Anna to push away from the rest of his team. He does push him towards where that health pack is. Nobody gets on the cards as we end right here. There was still players alive, but they were falling as Neil had the Anna out, so they had so much healing gone, Panda.
Yeah, Neil just distracting and taking the full aggro onto the Ana was definitely the move there. So much healing out of the way for Caverna, sure. But then you had Klaus just playing just 3D Tetris with his own adversary of Cappy Mac, just looking out for the shield bash from the Brigitte swap there at the last minute. Just finding his way into the point, just allowed Honoratu just dive in with the thrusters of the Diva Mech and displace the rest of the team of Caverna. They were all solo, like you mentioned, taking the on out of the fight with the Primal Rage from Winston. Neil doing big things for Brazil Gaming House, as he always has, even for his nation on the Overwatch World Cup. His name in particular, you got to look out for it, because he definitely makes space into particle effects for Brazil Gaming House. But as they roll out on their offense, probably going to see that flexibility being panned out a little bit further. Liko, he's hovering over that Genji, and I'd be really interested to see it. But the story is how Caverna looks to not only if they can full hold, I suppose, on the first point against Brazil Gaming House, how they're going to just defend in general. And it's going to be that that infamous answer on this map. It's going to be that dive defense. Juwasu's Winston seems to be a nice cornerstone for Caverna to build around.
They're going to go with the Zenyatta, which they didn't have on their attack, Panda. I mean, obviously, defensively, kind of works a little bit better to have the Zen. But you're seeing on the other end, Liko is showing us Genji right now. Looks like he's not going to switch off of that. How does the Genji change things?
Genji, Sombra, just like Doomfist and Sombra, the flexibility in between these two DPS players, you got to note. Just Klaus coming off the Doomfist, now playing the Sombra, as Liko coming off the Sombra, now playing the Genji. It's so impressive. The EMP is a one-team fight for sure, but you add a Dragon Blade to that too. When Caverna can't do anything to stop the Dragon Blade, that's when a composition can really start to snowball. But they're just trying to slowly inch their way through the archway, see what Caverna has to offer them, and stop the dive of Juwasu so far. So both these teams get hit tab. They can see the entire composition that each other are running. The dive comes through from Neil and Liko.
And the dive works. Klaus Honoratu getting the first 2 down. Cappy Mac, though, does at least get the Winston out of the sight, but founding himself a Ana to dive onto is Liko. Very close to dying, but he's able to stay back up. Oh, almost got hit by those destruction orbs from the Zen, but doesn't really matter. Honoratu able to eliminate both these tanks, and now looking for the Ana as well. They will build up and take this point extremely fast.
Yeah, and Leo just sitting there just trying to get as many stackers as possible. Oh, Halo. Orb of Destruction right on Liko. The sound wave from Alamong just to go ahead and just splatter Halo to the ground there, as he's going to get a further spawn than the rest. And this is very pivotal for Caverna just to not die here. That's so dangerous for Barry-Jean to go down. He had the nano boost available. Caverna need to regroup as quick as possible because the high ground control goes too heavily in the favor of Brazil Gaming House. This is going to be a game over. They have both their support ultimates with the Transcendence and the nano boost. Caverna can really stop this push from happening with Brazil Gaming House. They're not looking too weak themselves. They have a 5-pack full ultimates with the Neil to swap over to the hamster of all things. It's just by way of this Dragon Blade and the EMP, like I mentioned, Labasco, the quick swaps, the Dragon Blade. What are you going to do to stop it if you have no abilities, if you have no HP? Be careful, Zen.
Klaus looks like he might even just try to take out. He threw his translocator there to mess with him, and Callow quickly falls. Dragon Blade comes down in the meantime. Don't even need the EMP for that, as they're able to eliminate the last few players left that were stopping this card, and they see that golden box in front. Winston, the only one left alive to try and stop this, in desperation, pops the Primal Rage, gets quickly felled by the rest of the team that's there for Brazil Gaming House, and they win map number 2 pretty handily as BGH up 2-0 Panda.
They showed some cracks inside their armor, though. Definitely big hands, and you got to tip your hat over to Caverna for showing us those thus far, that when those opportunities are available for the enemy team against Brazil Gaming House, that they can inch their way forward and find themselves a spacing available. It might could just be objective-based, of course, but Caverna Esports, they are looking pretty strong. Juasu's Winston holding the rest of the team together with his big scientific arms and muscles, looking fantastic. But Brazil Gaming House, when the flexibility game got to be played, Liko definitely flexed his guns, and they were a little bit bigger. His Genji was pretty strong. His Sombra was 5 stars.
Klaus had a great one as well, and to break down that and more, we throw it back to the desk of Lemon, Kiwi, Lafon, and Naori.
Thanks, Labasco. We're back on the analyst desk, and there's some things to talk about, but this is not going against our expectations of BGH. These are your past season 1 and 2 winners, and it's not surprising that they're having a very strong week 1 start, despite keeping most of their roster. Klaus, that new addition, definitely proving himself to be great. And Caverna, the pieces are coming together, and it's to be expected that week 1, it's going to maybe take some weeks for them to make the puzzle from these pieces, but Naori, when we saw Busan, despite the technical issues, we saw mirror comps of the GOATs. And what's most important here is the Lucio and the lack of aggression from Caverna.
Yeah, that was a massive issue for them. You've got this Lucio, and what you need to understand about the Lucio is that his role is taxi. His role is to get you to point as quickly as possible, get you sped up, get you moving so that you can be aggressive and you're not wasting time. And they kind of did the exact opposite. It was like their Lucio just wasn't even there. He was being utilized more as a support than as a taxi, which generally, sure, you want your Lucio to be healing. But in that particular instance, when you're trying to engage fights, you need to be trying to run over the enemy. And it felt to me like there was just way too much hesitation from Caverna. It was like, and I'm going to bring it back to something I talk about a lot on desks, it's head game. I think they're coming up against this Titan team, and they're just like, you get so nervous, you don't want to engage, but you have to engage, and it's like, so definitely something that they're going to need to start working on is really utilizing that Lucio. You got to run in as quickly as possible.
And it felt that BGH was controlling the engages, and that's the whole part of Lucio. It helps you engage and disengage, and it felt like that taxi kind of brought them up to the stop sign, and that stop sign being BGH, and what a stop that we saw on Busan. What was it? 100-0 on both, the 2-0. Then we walk into Hollywood, where it was another stop, but at least we saw Caverna a little bit more warmed up. Lafon, you were particularly interested in Caverna's first engage to the point.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the Sombra Doomfist composition, especially on attack first Hollywood. Caverna, and this is the difference between Caverna and BGH. BGH ran the Genji on that first attack, and there's a really good reason why. Doomfist struggles to get into that backline. Think about it. There's not a lot of high ground that the Doomfist can control. You know, if he plays up in the front on that sort of that middle area where that sort of that drink container is, well, the D.Va and the tanks can just sort of take control back. Whereas Genji does a much better job of engaging and disengaging at will. And I think we were talking a little bit on the previous map about engaged timings or coordination and so forth. I think Caverna here is struggling with just being playing as a team, right? There was a lot of struggling in terms of how quickly they were moving in and out in terms of their engaged timings. And the one time they actually did that, when Maka went in, got a 2-kill, used the EMP on the supports, that opened up that first point. That was probably the only time in this first 2 maps that we've seen Caverna do that. BGH, on the other hand, has basically done what they want to. They go in whenever they feel like it. They really engage. They understand how they're going to play and choose to do so. Caverna, not only they seem to struggle with just execution, they don't even seem to know what they want to do to execute, right? They don't even get to that point. And I think it was emphasized in one small play towards the end of Hollywood. Klaus on the Sombra, and Klaus has been an excellent player in this series so far. He comes up behind the poor Zen and throws his translocator at him. It's just a sheer absolute disrespect to the Zen. Comes in, executes him in the fight, is absolutely over. Doesn't even need to use the EMP. And I think for BGH, the one thing here has been that they have a better understanding of how they want to engage and disengage, and they have a better understanding of how the heroes they're playing actually work. Caverna has a lot of work to do.
And I mean, that comes back to you talking about engaging and disengaging, and it comes back to exactly what I was saying earlier about, are really hesitant. It didn't matter. They start their attack on Hollywood and they might get a pick or two. They've got a massive spawn advantage. They need to be capitalizing, and you see this a lot, especially in comp. I've seen this quite often where a team doesn't know each other very well. You get 1 or 2 picks and then you like, okay, do we go in? That guy's low. Maybe we should back out. Oh, we've just lost somebody. Probably need to. But no, you've got that spawn advantage. That's when you need to be being as aggressive as possible. You need to capitalize on every single pick, especially if that pick is something huge like a Reinhardt or a support player. And Caverna just weren't doing that. Then they got the first point and they couldn't move payload more than about 40% of the way because, again, they just weren't engaging properly. So definitely aggressiveness is a problem for them.
And it speaks to the experience of the support players from BGH. We saw this on Busan, that even though Caverna threw a grab, they used all their support ults, BGH still out-sustained them. And this talks about how their Brigitte, BGH's Brigitte, I think it was Klaus, barely ever got picked first. And this is a hero statistically that always gets picked first. You have to be so careful how you engage and disengage with your shield bashes. And it's been proven that BGH, their supports don't die. If you don't kill their supports, they will outlive you and out-battle you. And even with the ult advantage, Caverna's advantage was just non-existent on Busan. And now it came down to hero choices on Hollywood, where LaFon, you mentioned the Doomfist at the initial start wasn't working out. But LaFon, do you agree this has more to do with the experience as a team of Caverna, or is this maybe just warming up in these matches for the first week?
I mean, it's tough to say. First week, right? First week is always going to be like that. It's going to be a question mark of which team is the most likely to be ready early. BGH, this team is basically the same one we saw last season, plus Klaus, minus Dudu, and Klaus has been an absolute revelation so far. Not that we didn't expect it to be. Klaus has been very, very good on, the previous teams last season, of course, on Isurus, but and this season moving towards his new role. I think for Caverna, though, it's a bit of there's a lot there that's going on. Maybe there's just not enough. This is something you see with a lot of new teams, actually, is that trust it's tough to quantify trust because, right, it's feeling more than anything else, but you have to expect your teammates to be in their proper places, and if you don't have that expectation, you're going to be a little bit left out sometimes. So I think for Caverna, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. They're lucky, I guess, that they're running up in their first week against a team that many expected them to lose to, and so that it's it's not a worry for them moving forward. Like, okay, yeah, BGH is out of the way. We can focus on our group now and move forward from that. But for Caverna, a work has to be done before their next matches because this is a team that just doesn't trust itself right now.
It's hard to kind of trust the pieces. You know, you're the new team. Who knows how long they've been really scrimming? And even these players from 2Kill and Caverna, these were players that were even still adjusting to last season of Contenders. So I'm still excited to see this evolution of this team going on through the weeks that are to come. But Naori, we've talked about how there's new players on this Caverna roster, mainly Cappy Max. Silvera hasn't seen Contenders in some time. What have you thought of the new players' performances, at least so far individually?
I think that the biggest issue is it's been difficult to get a good feel for them, particularly because of how dominant BGH has been. I think that they're doing a lot of work, but just because they aren't being given the space to perform as well as they can, it's difficult to really mention anything. So I'm really hoping that on the next couple of maps, they're going to shine a little bit brighter and hopefully push BGH a little bit harder so that I can really rev them up. But at the moment, it's just we haven't seen enough, and it's difficult to say how they're performing individually as opposed to how the team is performing, which, as I mentioned, is just not aggressive enough.
And LaFon, we talked about how Dudu, you know, he retired and then came out of retirement, a week later, or I don't know how much time. And this was a guy that was so enthusiastic at World Cup. I think one of the best snipers, at least Widowmakers in South America. Now he's playing a coaching role, and he's that fill-in player. What kind of role do you think Dudu is playing here? Like, he probably knows his teammates well. Do you see him going to be subbing in, or do you think Klaus and Liko are pretty solid together?
I mean, Klaus and Liko are perhaps the best DPS duo you can find in the region right now. So
Probably, yeah.
Whether Dudu comes in or out, it honestly might just depend on how they're performing. I want to take a moment though, just before we go back to Dudu. I want to talk a little bit about BGH's DPS duo, because we can sing out any one of the players on this roster for their performance so far. It's only been 2 maps, but we can sort of highlight some of their excellence, I think is probably a fair way of putting it. One of the coolest things to me about BGH is that Klaus has so far played Sombra. He's played Sombra, he's played Brigitte, he's played and then he's played the Doomfist, of course. Liko has countered with the Genji, with the Sombra, and with the Zarya. So this is not an inflexible DPS duo. Between the two of them, they've played the gamut. So I think we're going to see a little bit more flexibility coming out from these two in the future, and that's going to throw a lot of loop. It's going to throw a wrench in a lot of plans for these teams, because just how teams engage and disengage around different players is so massive. So I think, and this actually ties into the rest of the team, just how they're able to play around the shift between those two DPS pools. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to bring it out or round it out through the remainder of the series.
And well, I'll throw this question to you, Naori. When we talk about Dudu being a coach, what kind of impact does a former player have as a coach? Because sometimes it's hard to separate your teammates, your best friends, from a coaching role, which can sometimes be a very serious, give a lot of discipline type of role.
Yeah, I think that if you look at an isolated system, right? So previous player becomes coach. Huge. Because simply being a coach and having that analysis, yeah, that's pretty big. I mean, you got a lot of information, you can tell a lot of things, but if you've actually been there, it's like Jake going from Houston Outlaws player, which I believe he still is, to analyst for World Cup. You have this massive pool of insight that comes not only from your understanding of the game on a general sense, like a book written knowledgeable sense, but also from actually experiential learning. You've been there, you understand the mindset, what goes on in the mind of a pro player. You know what's going on. So that in and of itself is absolutely huge. But as you say, it can become a bit of a burden if these are your good friends. It can become difficult. You want to be strict, you want to tell them what to do, but at the same time, you're like, but these are my friends. We're memeing, we're having fun. And as long as you can find that balance, as long as you can discipline yourself enough to discipline your team, it can be a massive advantage.
I think that's the perfect answer of not only does he know so much about the game and know so much about who his players are, that he was on this team for so long, for years amongst these players, competing and winning everything with them. So he knows them so well that he knows how to relax them, knows how to hype them up, and maybe knows what positions they have to change, or he knows the strategies in and out. So this is the perfect coach for them if he were to stay on that role. But Finally, we are ready for map number 3. It's 2-0 for Brazil Gaming House. We're going to play the 4-map set. Let's see if Caverna can make the comeback. We're going to send it over to Labasco and Panda to take us to Hanamura.
Thank you very much, Lemon. It's glad to have you back with us here as we're getting ready for map number 3, Hanamura, Panda. Expectations for this. Obviously, we're talking about the assault map type, so that changes things in and of itself anyways. But from what we have seen already of Caverna and Brazil, does it change that much, or what are your thoughts here?
I guess it depends on how good Brazil Gaming House and Caverna are at controlling the weather, and I say that because if they can turn Hanamura into Snowamura, this is what we were kind of touching up on, and this is what the desk LaFon was talking about in particular, was just how good Brazil Gaming House in particular, specifically Klaus, is at flexing around. Klaus and Liko, the DPS duo for Brazil Gaming House. They played a versatile composition so far, whether it was the Brigitte Doomfist, the Sombra was played in there, the Genji was thrown in there too. And it seems that Brazil Gaming House, Klaus and Liko in particular, they're more than prepared for the task at hand to prepare a snowball up for point B. I would probably looking more in the favor for Liko to create that snowball potential with the high energy charge that we saw from our first map on this series, which was Busan, and how much damage he was putting into the dive tanks of Caverna in part, so that way he can continuously pump in and create space for Brazil Gaming House's DPS to really shine through.
I'm glad that you mentioned, snow, snowy, cold, because when you say those words, I think of Blizzard. And what's a good thing that's happening tomorrow for Blizzard fans? Well, it's Black Friday, and there's deals that are available for a limited time on Battle.net. Loads of Blizzard games and products are on sale. Just head over to Blizzard.com, and you can find all of those. Don't miss out on this great opportunity to complete your collection of Blizzard games. One of the things that we heard talked about as well, Panda, though, was trust. That was a big thing that we heard on Desk, Caverna Esports. What's maybe, when you're thinking of trust, does playing comps where, you're a little bit more together, does that make it a little bit easier where that trust factor of, maybe, you don't have to worry about what somebody else is doing when everybody sort of has to be together? Is that a little bit better, or what is the thoughts here for Caverna Esports?
I think altogether, contrary to popular belief, 3-3 compositions are they're very communication heavy. They are actually some of the most trust heavy compositions known to the current meta and patch of Overwatch. You got to know that your Brigitte will be there to shield bash for the Earth Shatter. The orb will be placed onto the Genji before he blades. The nano boost spots for the dash ups. There's so much trust that gets played out for a multitude of compositions. Like Caverna find themselves definitely down a peg or two, Labasco, against Brazil Gaming House. I mean, this team, they've been scrimming together for the entire inception of 2018 Contenders South America, all the way to Overwatch World Cup, minus a few inside their lineup today. So yeah, when you go tit for tat, the compositions, the Doomfist, the Genji Sombra that we got to see, you can get away with not nano boost or not EMPing on top of the blade, or get away with just dirty dive compositions, because Brazil Gaming House, they trust each other to be there to support them on the mistakes that they might do. It just comes down to appearing and creating that opportunity for themselves here and catching Caverna in that mistake chance, because they're all very, very good players on Caverna.
They are, but unfortunately, a trap doesn't really care if you're a good player or not, and Liko gets an early elimination and a quick boost to his percentage into building that Riptire, as he's at 37% already. Klaus is on the Widowmaker here, looking for a head. Ooh, just misses the Brigitte headshot. But Caverna, when you look at them, they have gone here with that triple support, that triple tank composition. Also could be called goats if you want, but this one, the Anna style of that, as Silvria gets caught in the trap again, and Klaus is able to take that diva out here, and now stuck between a rock and a hard place is Caverna Esports. They're onward that large health pack as Liko can set up that trap where they might try to come, throws out a concussion mine and misses. Doesn't matter, Klaus finds a headshot in the meantime. Honorado now diving in here, and it looks like Caverna is going to just go off the ledge there and end themselves and not give any more charge to BGH.
Klaus with a see you later headshot on to Caverna's Zarya. Cappy Mac, I think he's scratching his head with that bullet out of its side in spawn. Caverna, they take away that balcony position with the mega health pack, but they have no way of getting onto Klaus, who did so much damage. He does have the infrared side available for this next fight, and he's more than willing to and open to do so. Who's going to get on top of him? Sylvira is going to go all that far away from the rest of his team to try to displace the Widowmaker. He can try, he just gets pulled away. Neil with a fantastic call onto the D.Va to keep his Widowmaker safe.
And here comes the Riptire that finds Maka. So Maka did manage to get Honorado out of mech, but Sylvia finally getting Klaus down. There might be a chance for the regroup to happen, then Caverna to quickly get back onto points.
If Cappy Mac had enough charge, he would have been able to get a Graviton Searcher in this next fight, but the mech is still out of the way for Honoratu. If they push into the entire team of Brazil Gaming House, it will be there. The Nano Boost comes down onto Juwasu. He finds Colero. That's a lot of healing down for Brazil Gaming House.
And he also has himself the Nano Boost to find another player. Sylvia able to get Alamang, who is on the Mercy. So they will win this fight. BGH will just give it up here, concede the point, and try to regroup as quick as possible. But trying to get that snowball, as you and LaFon were talking about before going, is Caverna of these two teams. They do have some ultimates that can help make that happen. They will have the Graviton Surge here. They have Earth Shatter as well. Playing the high ground is BGH. Chaozu sends out the Fire Strike, but Maka fouls in the meantime to Liko, who's made the switch to Genji. He used his ultimate, missed everyone because of the pillars that were aware. His charge misses as well. Doesn't even get a chance to go off the map because Liko eliminates him. And BGH stabilizing here on point number 2.
I think once Juwasu threw out that Earth Shatter, he was like, all right, you know, we out, fam, and just wanted to go off the edge anyway. Brazil Gaming House setting themselves up wonderfully for a nice defense on point B, Hanamura. They noticed after having a double main healer composition with Alamang on that Mercy, like you noted earlier, Labasco, that they couldn't defend themselves from the amount of damage that was coming through of the Nano Boost of Barijan. But as they're setting himself up for second, Alamang swapped over to Zenyatta halfway through this Transcendence. Captain Mac has this Graviton Surge. With all the armor coming through from Maka, they can do a lot of damage here, but the punch to the face, you thought you had a plan.
Maka taken out right at the beginning of this fight. Self-destruct thrown in. Graviton Surge with Sylvia's mech, able to at least get one. Also gets Klaus in the meantime. Captain Mac eliminates Alamang. So this is Caverna, what they need. Liko gonna pop the Blader. Kind of got stuck on the pillar. Misses, only got one swipe after he got pooped away by the Lucio. Captain Mac with the night right click to take him out of this fight. Now looking for some more opportunities as he has the charge on him, or the Nano Boost. This Cappy Max staying by Choatsu, who gets himself an Earth Shatter and is able to take out a few with it with the help of Maka and Sylvia. Klaus back into the fight here, charging his way in on the right click. Can't quite do it. Liko, the only one left alive, so they get the first one here. 33% guaranteed. Now 66. Now somebody has to try and get back on, using his ult as Neo in the Primal Rage to get back onto the point. So that will stall things out for the moment for BGH. Graviton Surge again. Mac able to get the mech as well, and Cappy eliminates another here in Klaus. So not working right now, but they're at least taking time off the clock is BGH. Transcendence to commit it here. Liko using the Maya to try and deal some damage out. Can't get back on, and BGH will take this. Or sorry, Caverna will take this from BGH.
Kalu did so much in those final moments there. The moment that Caverna touched the point as a team, Kalu went into overdrive mode. Speed boosting, healing everybody with that aura effect that Lucio brings to the table. Alamang got a run for his money with the Flex Support Supreme that was a Lucio versus Zenyatta, and he's probably wishing that he was on that Lucio, so that way the BGH could take advantage of the speed, just like Caverna was right there, just plummeting themselves onto the point, setting themselves up, taking advantage of the space that Brazil Gaming House left available to them, and really coming into their own. Caverna were able to not only utilize their support ultimates more effectively in those final moments of Brazil Gaming House, but more importantly, that they were able to really put all the resources that were known and available. I'm going to sound like a broken record by the end of the broadcast and by the end of today. But Cappy Mac did such a good job using his personal bubble, creating space so that way the support line wasn't taking a sufficient amount of damage. and then taking a few steps back, having a member of his team in front of him, even if it wasn't a main tank. So that way the charge was always there and the spacing was always available. And by that point, you have so much charge over to your Zarya that no diva, no matter how good you are, Honoratsu, you can't do anything about 100 charge Zarya to your face. And on a point B like Hanamura is so close, it's going to equal 3 minutes and 17 seconds on to their control point. Brazil Gaming House, we've seen this even last season of Contenders. If you try to push them against the wall, they know how to push that much harder, because they're going to come out with your traditional goats here, with the Moira Colero going to go ahead and go back a season of Contenders and show us what he's got.
Coming around that right side, too, is BGH. You do have the Lucio and on the other side for Caverna. So we see Zenyatta, excuse me. We see Zenyatta's on both defenses. Do have Alamang on the Lucio, but Choaozu getting the first elimination onto Klaus, so the Regita gone. That's a lot of utility out of the fight at the beginning, as Silvria takes Neil down as well. Neil, though, was able to get Choaozu, and Polero gets Maka, so fairly even fight here for both of these teams. BGH able to already get 33%. That's guaranteed to them regardless. Liko, high charge, looking for that next elimination. Gets punched out by Silvria, but is able to stay alive through it. Just continues to right click and switch between his left click to deal as much damage. They get up to another 60%. So BGH still making things work. Transcendence, though, is Caverna committing back onto the point here. Silvera taken down right in the beginning of this fight. Alamung takes Choaozu out, as it's just the diva left on the point, stalling for as long as possible. A couple players off the point, too, and Parisian and Capimac, who quickly fall as well.
Brazil Gaming House lost Neil very early in that fight, but they were already on the point from the speed boost of Alamung. They were just able to use the bell to their favor, just waiting for their members to come back through. Caverna just waiting a moment too long, but Maka meeting with the EMP at the door, that is so huge for Caverna.
Didn't get everybody, though, was the only problem for them. Pana Alamung was able to hide away from it, expecting that one. Allows for the great Graviton surge from Liko that eliminates Maka. Using of the Shatter, doesn't find anything, but it hasn't really mattered. The only one left on point is Choatsu, as he is up into the air, just stalling for as long as possible. Quickly blanked by this team of BGH, already up to 66%. Somebody needs to get down. Transcendence set onto the point by Parisian, who's just stalling for as long as possible on that Zen. Now have the Wrecking Ball come out from Choatsu as well. Liko, though, finds Maka in the meantime. Also, Silvria getting the Nano Boost on, quickly taken down. Jesta may push off the point, and it's going to be a massive time bank for Brazil Gaming House.
Yeah, and a quick wipe and reset there, so that way they can be back on the defender's side. Like I had mentioned, they are the bullies of South America region, Labasca. You push them, they push a lot harder, and it's very scary when you make them push that hard. They don't want to be that guy in the sandbox, all right? They don't want to have to sit there and kick down your sandcastles, but by God, Caverna, you are absolutely poking at the bear here, and you love to see it, really, from South America regions. And anybody sitting at home, if you're familiar with the South America region altogether, I will re-emphasize about this region in particular. Brazil Gaming House are a two-time victor, season 1 and season 2 this year of Contenders South America. They're looking for a three-peat. So any sort of defense that we see out of Caverna or offense is very strong, and they found a lot of openings there, and that staggering defense for point A and just point A altogether, just doing a good job of catching Neil, being that over-aggressive main tank that we know and love for Brazil Gaming House. As they're setting up for this defense one more time, it's kind of like this bait and swap at this point. They want Caverna to walk in with this Sombra Doomfist composition that they've been playing a lot of, with Shuwasu on this Reinhardt, and then Neil's going to be there to power drive them, defense matrix from Honoratsu, and then punched against a wall by Klaus. It's just a very scary composition.
And look where Klaus is hiding right now, too.
Yeah. Oh, we see you, buddy.
We see them, but Will Caverna, and he decides to go to the other side instead. But I'm glad you mentioned Neil now on a tank that he can be even more aggressive on for Caverna. We see that they are going to continue with the Sombra on the attack. Still have Capimac on the Zarya, and they still have the Diva and the Reinhardt kind of scouting out here, figuring out that Liko is on Sombra. They'll speed boost their way onto point now, seeing that they have the opportunity to do so. A couple players really close to falling for BGH. Now comes in Neil with the pile drive. Doesn't get too much damage on, as Schwautzu was there to block most of it. He able to get 2, like you said, they are almost to 3, and now they finally get on, and Klaus is able to find the Ana, and now Schwautzu falling as well. So Cappy Mac, the only one left, quickly taken down as well, and Alamel's able to find Maka as cleaning up his BGH, but they gave up so much, Panda.
Brazil Gaming House, they gave up 2 ticks for sure, but Converna, they took advantage of that space. And you can tell how much damage were pumped into the tanks of Converna in particular, because Varisian already has a nano boost, and Honoratu is about to have a self-destruct. Look at the DPS as well. An EMP already on the board for Liko. This could stop Converna's next push already in its tracks, and it does. So huge.
Pile drive onto Cappy Mac, takes the first elimination, then able to get Schwautzu as well, so they just completely blank, only have to use that. Oh, and they get the Diva Mech at the end!
So Varia, it does not want to go back to spawn and swap off. That's a lot of ult charge already thrown away. Not swapping, staying in that pilot form. We'll actually swap to the McCree and swap back to the Diva, resetting that ult charge. That is exactly what Neil wanted. The 5-pack of ultimates will be coming through from Brazil Gaming House on this next defense. They can keep their entire backline alive with that Transcendence for Caverna. They need to make good use of this nano. It's probably going to go over to Shuwasu, but they have this EMP from Maka. It's been good so far in the series. He needs another clutch one here and now.
Swinging on that wrecking ball was Neil, throwing those mines out on top of everyone. It didn't find anything. Doesn't matter, though, because Neil finds the elimination at the end on Maka as he came back in, rolls back away, and we see Klaus here just kind of waiting for an opportunity to find somebody to use his rocket punch on.
Yeah, Maka unfortunately got picked off. Didn't get a chance to use that EMP. No flashy particle lights coming through. Brazil Gaming House, however, they still have a few ultimates to play around with. More importantly, that nano boost from Alamong, so he has to be placed. Might even go over to Klaus for a very damaged, worthy Doomfist, but you can see Maka just playing around with this EMP. They take the bait onto the courtyard.
Looks like it might have only got Wrecking Ball, but Liko fell, so that's still a good start. Chuatsu has his opportunity for his ult, but Klaus finds both of them with his ultimate. That was a huge meteor strike from Alamel, finding both supports, and it's another one for BGH. Only 27 seconds left on the clock.
And they can use the speed boost from Kalu to make it all the way back to the point, but look at the oppression. Neil already onto the front line. He is going to get his mines here in the middle of this fight, Labasco, and so is Liko onto that EMP. Brazil Gaming House are firing off on all cylinders. Cappy Mac throwing out the Graviton Surge onto the Mega Pack. They didn't find anybody whatsoever. Now, Caverna, they're stumbling their way to the point.
I think he was trying to grab Liko with it, but it doesn't work. Klaus, in the meantime, eliminates Callow. Neil dealing out as much damage on this Wrecking Ball, tries to get the Diva out of Mech with the help of his team, causes the self-destruct to have to be used. Alamau takes out Maka in the meantime, so Alamang getting so much out of that. Anna Neil swinging his way back in, finds himself a Mang tank, but Chuatsu kept alive because of that coalescence, but his team's falling all around him, so it doesn't even matter as the overtime meter starts here, and BGH will finally get those last few. Not going to matter about the Sombra ult that's used.
Spawn room advantage means absolutely nothing when you have no man advantage, and Brazil Gaming House are now one tick away from clinching the series and going up a whole series in the first game of Contenders South America Season 3. Well, they got to get through 3 ticks, sure. But, you know, after those 2 ticks were so convincingly handed, and so gently, however, on a silver platter, Brazil Gaming House were like, here, you take this. You take this.
But
the win condition's still there. Still
right.
there.
Still there. Just have to get to 75%. That's all.
You gotta believe, guys. All right. Everybody at home. All right. Caverna need your energy. Please throw your arms in the air and give them your energy for this defense. I believe. I mean, they were looking really good on the first defense against Brazil Gaming House. And Neil, if they can punish his hamster play, just like they were punishing his Reinhardt play, his over-aggression, his drive for the decimation of the enemy line. He's probably so used to playing with 3 supports at this point that that's all he knows is cleave. He probably has barrier unlinked from his mouse at this point. If they can do that, then I can see Caverna doing a good job on this defense and giving us a series to watch out for. But if Caverna fall short and Brazil Gaming House have their way of controlling the entire game and region of South America, Caverna they are in a very dangerous spot.
Well, if you want to try and challenge them, you go to always enter Open Division, assemble your team to compete in the Overwatch Open Division. Signups close December 3rd, so make sure that you can do that now if you want to try and dominate in your region. Liko on the Genji, coming towards the back line right here. Now he's just looking at the tanks that are sitting at the point, and Silvria gets the kill at the beginning onto Caleros, so that should probably wrap up the push here, but they're still going in. Neil's able to find Silvria, so now if they regroup, wait for their Zen to come back, they might have an advantage. Klaus still just looking for something with the Widowmaker too. Couldn't find anything. Now he has a Sombra on him that has to be super careful. It's gonna fall here to Honorado, so they have advantage when they go back in.
This hallway ain't big enough for the two of us because I got Honoratu on this Diva's absolutely going insane, creating so much space, following up on the damage. That's what you want from a good Diva, but Caverna, they're already ready to answer back. Brazil Gaming House set himself up on the point in Caverna. They're staggering themselves back here momentarily. They do have the man advantage. Brazil Gaming House with the spawn room advantage.
So they have to get these players that are on the card, or on the point is the biggest thing. The card's what we get to see next. Klaus with 2 here is going to make that not even matter. So granted you have that advantage. Goes out the window as Liko just dashes through everybody. And Brazil Gaming House will win 3-0. Of course, we still have one more map, Panda.
Still will have one more map. Caverna looking pretty good again. When those small opportunities present themselves, Caverna seem to be more than welcome to the task of taking advantage of them. Finding picks onto Calero with that Doomfist pick was looking very strong thus far. Maka and Cappy Mac, they're stepping up their game. They're trying to go tit for tat against the DPS of Brazil Gaming House. But the real story at play here is how much Neil is leaving the rest of his team open to biotic grenades, being absolutely obliterated by a Doomfist. The peel is there. They are running these compositions to keep their supports alive. And if they go up against a team in the near future that start understanding these openings that Brazil Gaming House are leaving for them, we could see a different contender season than we did in previous 2.
A lot of aggression from the side of Brazil Gaming House. There's no doubt about that. And the other thing, too, like you said, Neil showing us his tank abilities on a variety of players. We'll see if they can continue that on map number 4 and make this a 4-0 win for Brazil Gaming House. But we have a quick timeout here first, and then we'll be back with that 4th map.
Is it my fault? Is it my fault? Keep counting change to buy myself some time to sort through my neoplastic mind. If I run away and change my name, then maybe I'll find a new perspective in time. Is it my fault? Is it my fault? Is it my fault? I can't keep these thoughts at rest. Is it my fault? If I can't calm myself down. for somebody else. Circling the edge, way up high. Don't know if I'll ever have a useful alibi. Gone too far to stop.
Back here on Broadcast.gg, Labasco and Panda with you. It's currently 3-0 in favor of Brazil Gaming House. They have gotten the win here today, Panda, but they are not done. Route 66 will be our fourth and final map. Caverna Esports want to try and, end this one off on a positive note. One thing to point out for Brazil Gaming House, Panda, they only lost one map all of last season. Is that something that you think they can do again? Or is there a lot, or do you think that that's going to be a hard thing to try and do?
It depends on how the next few series pan out. It's so hard to tell, especially because this is the first game of the entire coverage of South America Contenders. But Caverna, they are showing us that it's definitely possible. It's like last season we hinted at, and we had noted that Brazil Gaming House are showing a few cracks and a few dents inside their armor. But who's going to start taking advantage of those cracks and those dents and those opportunities that are presenting themselves? Caverna are showing us just that on week one of Brazil Gaming House. Could also be an open door for Brazil Gaming House's infrastructure to, I guess, repair those mistakes. That way they don't happen against stronger opponents in the weeks to come. But with it being the first week of Contenders thus far, Brazil Gaming House are looking that scary yet again, going up a very strong team of Caverna. Again, to comment on it yet again, this entire team of Caverna are no guests to this region of South America, but they are more than ready to, they're more than ready to take Brazil Gaming House to the task. And that's why they picked Route 66, because like you had mentioned, they want to go out on a high note, and they want to make sure that that map score victory at the end of the season pans out here, and it really shows its effect.
And I think one thing to point out, too, for Caverna, more than likely, they only have room to grow as a team. You had the hardest opponent first, but not only that, you haven't spent too much time together, so you get that real in-game experience, and now you know what things you'll need to work on to moving forward. We see the Genji and the Sombra, the choice for Brazil Gaming House here. Liko trying to build up to that Dragon Blade, and Caverna taking the high ground here to look for some eliminations as the dive comes onto Klaus by Chuasu. And go ahead, Banda.
It seems like Caverna are more than interested in stopping Liko in their tracks. Like, they're more than were prepared and knowledgeable that Klaus and Liko were to come out onto the Sombra Genji. It's so popular in Route 66.8 hold that Maka had to come out onto the Creed. He's going to fall low here momentarily, but he's probably got the damage. He's about to have a Deadeye.
Very close to it is Maka. Nobody's fallen yet on either side. By the way, Alamung is on the Soldier 76, so we are looking at a triple DPS look. Has that high noon, can't find anything with it. Able to get away with Alamung because of his ability to run. Now comes out the Dragon Blade, and Liko gets great value with it with the nano boost. Finds himself 4 eliminations.
And now Caverna, they are in a troubling spot here, aren't they, Labasco? Because that was a nano boosted and a blade. Now Klaus is about to have an EMP. We saw in previous matchups, or in previous maps here in this series, that they could win team fights with just an EMP from Liko or Klaus. Caverna, on the other hand, they're going to be swapping themselves over to and out of the spawn room. The sound barrier more or less needs to be hidden, needs to hide behind a wall so that way they can counteract this EMP that's about to come through from Klaus.
And to use the visor as well. So you have the visor thrown in, Neil taking advantage of it, and Alamung finds 2 in the meantime as well. So the eliminations come through again for BGH. They only use 2 ultimates.
The composition from Brazil Gaming House, the way they have them set up with Alamung on the Soldier 76, Calero on the Soul support with the Ana, I suppose, it's very easy because Klaus can continue to hack the Mega Health Pack in Big Girls, so it's another healing stationary for Alamung to take advantage of. And Juwasu has a hard time finding these dives. There's so much damage on the front line that you can just see that the entire team of Brazil Gaming House, they can just play their game at a moment's notice. The dive coming through to clean up the kill onto Cappy Mac. First and foremost, that they're finding dives of Parisian almost for free, just because of the front line having so much pressure and free will that Juwasu will never have a bubble for more than a second.
The only good thing, though, is he has 3 ultimates on his team side, and Silvera's able to get one with the self-destruct. Nice shot from Maka to get the headshot on to the Ana as well in Colero. So now that cart will start to roll again. You do have Honoratu getting Chihuatsu out, and Maka, though, finding Neil, who can't get back. So they're going to be without their main tank here for a minute, so they should be able to push this cart close to those doors before a full regroup can happen for Brazil Gaming House.
And this is some of that heroic play that I was mentioning at the beginning of this matchup. From Maka and Cappyback, we need more of this. The armor will come through with 300 HP. McCree is at play here with his Deadeye ultimate. Most support ultimates are available for Converter, so the space is theirs to lose here. Deadeye being used on the cart. Electric Cowboy getting hacked out of his ultimate.
So the Nano Boost doesn't really do anything. A bit of a wasted ult there from the side of Caverna. And Liko has this Dragon Blade that he's just looking for his opportunity. And he gets a Nano Boost onto it as well. Takes out the Cowboy that you just mentioned. And finds 2 more afterwards. Looking to eliminate this D.Va from the mech as well. Oh, he sees an escaping Brigitte who might fall here eventually. But not quite able to get Cappy Mac. But doesn't matter because the fight is lost. 12 seconds left to go here for Caverna to get back on cart.
Yeah, Genji versus Brigitte, you don't really take those fights. Cappy Mac, however, will take the 1v1 onto the pilot. D.Va Honorato will lose that, of course, in the end. Tracer using the recall. Klaus coming back on Reaper. Overtime into full effect. Alamong, he was using this visor. He was keeping it in his back pocket. The Shatter's coming through from Chihuatsu. The Flame Strike found Neil. So now in this overtime push, the cart's in the favor for Caverna.
I think that was just a little bit of a misplay there from Alamung, because I think he thought that maybe if he got that quick elimination, he'd give his team advantage at the start of the fight. Doesn't work out. Instead, Callow gets eliminated by, or Aliko gets eliminated by Callow, and Maka takes Honoratu, and that allows for them to push on and keep themselves alive for Caverna.
Yeah, and now Brazil Gaming House, this is where they really find themselves stumbling along into matchups and where we see the cracks in this armor really coming to light. So he's starting on Amaka to stop him in his place, but Brazil Gaming House are taking the swap back from the Reaper over to the Sombra, not wanting to leave too many mistakes left on the Streets phase point B, if you will, for Converna's push. The cart is keeping themselves nice and healthy. It's another shield to be playing around for Chihuatsu, but Barisian has this nano boost. This is going to go on to this pulse bomb. Will get stuck onto Colaro, so now speed boost coming in from Callo. Caverna looking to aggress and take this fight to win.
And Colaro had the ultimate, so now Liku will have to use his blade without nano boost, but instead deciding to just try and regroup. Uses the reflect to try and keep alive Alamung, but Alamung can't stay up because of the good dive coming in from the team, and Parisian just able to get that shot out with the Ana. So now great position here for Caverna, but so many ultra BGH.
1-2-3 composition from Caverna really playing into their favor. Maka wanted to play this Tracer as a stalwart effect here, but Liku coming in here with a Nano Blade again. Can he create the same magic that he did before?
Kind of got booped out of it. He does find one elimination, but it was a little bit too late, so he can't get anyone out of it. But the good thing is Klaus has been doing the work on the back end, eliminating 2 players in the meantime, and now taking out another was Honoratu in the main tank in Chihuatsu.
Okelo must be so frustrated. Now Caverna, they were 10%, if you will, from that sound barrier walking into this next fight, so they'll have it, be able to progress themselves onto this payload. They need to be careful, because Neil, when he has this Primal Rage, we've seen in this series, he is not afraid to go for your backline, even when you're sitting there supporting him. He uses that Primal Rage to solidify the elimination onto the support, but Parisian was able to hold on to this Nano Boost, looking to use it under this fight, and the Captain Mac using the rally, so a lot of armor into the favor. But Brazil Gaming House, they find themselves with a plethora of EMP'd individuals and a nice self-destruct all through Honoratu.
So now just looking to clean up the last few left here. 19 seconds left. Somebody has to get on that cart when it's under that like 10-5 second mark there, Panda, to keep this one going to get an overtime. Otherwise, this one's over.
Might as well. I mean, it's not over until the Fat Lady sings naturally, of course. In the attack phase for Caverna, they're going to try to inch their way towards the payload here. But the sound barrier to come through very aggressively. Sound barrier from the answering son of Alamong. Brazil Gaming House are not ready to give it up.
Using his Earth Shatter, but not finding anything was Chihuatsu. Alamung eliminates him with the right click instead. Honoratu eliminates Callow as well. Looking to take out another one as Liko with that nano-boosted blade finds himself 2 in the meantime. And now just a D.Va left with a self-destruct on cart and a Sombra as overtime will go away and Caverna's push will be stopped right before they can get to those doors.
Even when Caverna had the resources available, they couldn't continuously find traction on point B, Labasco. They got it halfway through. So this is the same thing that we said in the previous map. The win condition is there, but Brazil Gaming House, they're not ready to be thwarted quite yet. Not in the first series of Overwatch Contenders Season 3 South America. Alamang was getting a little dangerous there, going for those hyper-aggressive plays with his tanks, but once they stuck true to their dive composition with Neil and Hanaratsu, the spacing for Liko and Klaus to play the game at very freely at home, that it's just seemed that Caverna really got stumbled into the Santa Route 66.
That's a good point, Pan. And I think the other thing too, they struggled with the triple DPS at first. They eventually figured it out though.
Yeah, eventually started really finding their way into the composition that BGH wanted to play, but Caverna, again, showing us how much they're willing to, I guess, give all the resources to their tanks. More importantly, Juwasu, even when it's solo DPS, they really stuck on it for a long time with Maka onto that Tracer. Brazil Gaming House, on the other hand, they are more than happy to play the flex game whenever Caverna are willing to do that dance with them. More importantly, Klaus and Liko, they're just probably happy to not continuously playing Zarya and Brigitte all the time in and out of scrims when they have to win and then when they're really pushed against it. Caverna, however, when those opportunities and mistakes do come around, again, not to sound like a broken record, Brazil Gaming House, with a lot of opportunities for their enemies to capitalize on, Caverna are more than up to the task.
Some early scouting from Alamang, who was on the Hanzo, sends out that Sonic Arrow, so they knew where at least some of the players, where Neil drops in doing that pile driver. Didn't really catch any players, but it creates space for his team, and that's the more important part. Liko found a player to dive onto, can't get him down and out, but now Neil diving in towards that backline. Missed out on some healing there as his team wasn't that quick around the corner, but he's able to get back with them. Liko building up that blade. He's already halfway to it, so they're building these ultimates fairly quick. Klaus almost to the EMP as well. So even though they haven't gotten anybody down, they're building up ultimates that can win them team fights. Maka, though, finds Calero at the beginning here, so Anagon out. They're going to commit to this fight anyways. EMP can be the great equalizer, and it allows Neo to take Cat B-Mac out, so a lot of damage gone. And now retreating, trying to stay together is Caverna, not quite working out, and just deciding to stall for as long as possible, and then jumping in to the Great Ravine is Shrouds.
We gotta get out of here. Brazil Gaming House, however, even when they were down their main healer, I made this note on the previous map, they lost to Brigitte last time. This time it was their Ana. No main heals for Brazil Gaming House, but they still found themselves 5 members of Caverna EMP'd, and they found headway onto that fight. And now the payload is just inching its way down. Neil, on your screen, he has these mines. He's looking for a quick dive on top of them, but Liko has a different plan. It's a nano boost and a blade.
Only problem is out comes the sound barrier to try and deal with it. Liko did manage to get Parisian. Calero finds Callo, so both supports down for the side of Caverna. They do still have, of course, Maka using the rally, so that might be enough armor to keep them alive in this fight. Just depends on how they can take out some of these targets, and Cappy Mac eliminates Calero, so good start for them. They do force back Brazil Gaming House, who just wants to be careful here. They've still got 2 minutes on the clock, so have some ultimates to work with. Don't want to feed alt charge the Caverna.
Half the clock one is a winnable game for Caverna. Brazil Gaming House having to throw resources in that last fight. More importantly, the nail blade didn't find any effect, so the EMP needs a lot of follow-up because there is no blade from Liko available. Caverna, however, if they can keep the Ana alive here, Barijan will put the nano boost onto the main tank and find themselves a lot of free damage, but the supporting sound barrier from Alamang is right there to save the day for Brazil Gaming House.
Seems like Brazil Gaming House knew that they wanted to use that, like you were saying, so that was who they EMP. They didn't get the nano boost out, but they eliminated targets around, and they win this fight easily, and will open these doors up and have a chance to push on to the final part of this map now, since that golden box is on our streets phase here.
81.27 meters separate Brazil Gaming House from their first 4 Overwatch victory here on Contenders South America Season 3, and they have a self-destruct to set themselves on that pace. The Nano Boost could go over to Neil. A Nano Boost Enhancer could be very effective, but you know at home that they're saving it for the Nano Blade. It's treated them very well besides in that last one for Liko. Brazil Gaming Force, they are looking very strong with Spark. And Verna, on the other hand, they do have the self-destruct and the Graviton Surge. Speaking of that, Cappy Max throws it down lane.
Callow taken out in that wall that happens. Liko will commit the Dragon Blade here into this fight. Finds himself too quickly, and now looking for another elimination onto this Winston, who's just stalling for as long as possible. Silvria able to get Klaus in the meantime, but it doesn't really matter. His team is just losing numbers, and this cart will start going again. 2:50 left to go on the clock.
This is devastating for Caverna. Those last bit staggers, those last few that just are coming out of the spawn room right now. Cappy Mac is actually swapping over to Sombra because how long it would have taken for Azaria to make it back to the point. If they can get every member to benefit this rally coming out from Mecca, this payload could actually be seized here because Shuwasu can create space with his Primal Rage.
Have to be careful, of course, though, too, of the EMP, and
Oh,
here it
found
comes
one.
from Klaus. Like you said, it finds one and not the target that they need. Self-destruct up on the high ground here might not matter, though. Chuatsu taken out by Honoradu. Now the self-destruct finds two from Honoradu, and that should be enough here. Just have to take Cappy Mac and Silvria down, along with Callow, and that cart will start. Dragon Blade to make sure that happens from Liko. Swings away, and now takes out Callow, and the cart will go. And I don't think anybody from Caverna can get back in time. Just going to have their Winston, but he's quickly taken down.
Juwasu just trying to get any last bit stalls here in the momentarily. Maka, if we get able to get here momentarily. The nano boost of shield baiting. Be careful of that one. The sound barrier to come through so that way all Brazil Gaming House stay alive. Very properly, but Honoratu getting back onto that kill feed, showing us how much damage and worth he has made in the previous team fight and how much of an unsung hero he's been for Brazil Gaming House all throughout here. Diva players, they aren't the flashiest, but by God, do they do so much work in keeping their support line alive and their front line under pressure. But Silvria has a different story for this last team fight. Comes in with the Doomfist and finds the support line of Brazil Gaming House falling apart.
Falling apart with 1:14 left through self-destruct.
Oh my God.
They've got to regroup now. So Silvria, the hero right now, Panda, as he's been using this Doomfist to great effect. And now if Neil uses his ultimate here, Maka with one as well. Takes out Neil before he can retreat. 59 seconds left. Brazil Gaming House in a bad spot. Honorado taking out Maka. Now Liko using the Dragon Blade to try and get this one back even. Takes one down, finds another one with it, and now they'll finally get this cart going here after they take out this Primal Raging Winston. So close, though, here with 43 seconds. EMP to ensure the victory from Klaus, and they do win 4-0 for Brazil Gaming House.
They will take that victory just at the final moments. Silvria was trying their